And Joe the Shirt is once again off the cuff. Welcome back once again. I am your host, Joe the Shirt, and this is my show, Off the Cuff. Again, sorry for the long hiatus. I know it's been about a good 2 weeks since I put up a show. Just want to let you know that it's due to some personal reasons. Nothing terrible. Nothing terrible happened. Just as you may remember, I've been taking classes to learn how to become a veterinary assistant. I've completed 90% of my course, and now all that's left is for me to do an externship with a veterinary clinic somewhere. I have to volunteer 90 hours. I have to be somebody's slave for 90 hours. Or 3 weeks, or 3 weeks a month, however long it takes. 2 weeks if I'm lucky. Doubtful though, probably about 3 to 4 weeks. That is what's going on there. So I was concentrating on my studies. By the way, carrying a grade point average, I'm carrying a 95, which is about an A. So good for me. I'm doing well there. And just taking care of some other personal issues that I can't talk about because they're not my personal issues to talk about. Suffice to say, around here, Mother's Day is always a little tough. My girlfriend M misses her mother a great deal, and it gets a little tough for her for that week. So I tend to, pretty much concentrate on taking care of her, making sure she's okay. And like I said, and then with my studies and looking for the externship, it was very, very busy. And could I have done shows? Yes, I could have, I suppose so. But I really wanted to concentrate on what was going on, here in the personal life of Joe the Shirt. Also, let me put it this way. I concentrated so much on taking care of my studying and helping my girlfriend get through Mother's Day and some other stuff. I didn't drink for over a week. Okay? I just didn't drink. I realized it was too much of a distraction for me, and I needed to just plow through this and make sure that everything got done the way it's supposed to get done. So that being said, I am back. Thank you for waiting for me. I know it's a bitch. It's a complete bitch, and I feel like a complete bitch when I disappear for so long because you don't know what's going on. I could have died. I'm sure you're all like worried. I'm waiting on bated breath, making sure that I'm okay. But I am. What have we got today? Now, as the title will tell you, Girls Gone Testifying. Are you guys familiar with Joseph Francis? Anybody? Anybody in the back of the class? Anybody? Joseph Francis is the producer, the brains behind the Girls Gone Wild video series. All those Girls Gone Wild videos, DVDs, Blu-rays, whatever the fuck you want to call them. That's Joseph Francis. That's his baby. He came up with the idea. He made a ton of money on it. But apparently Joseph seems to think that this entitles him to more than he deserves. Let's see. According to this little article here, Joseph Francis, the producer of the Girls Gone Wild series, was convicted on May 6th of assaulting 3 women following a night out celebrating in Hollywood. Francis, 40 years old, was convicted by a jury on 5 misdemeanor criminal counts, including 3 counts of false imprisonment, 1 count of dissuading a witness from reporting, and 1 count of assaulting causing great bodily injury. Now you're thinking to yourself, I've seen Joe Francis. I've seen the guy in the videos. He doesn't seem like a bad guy. He looks like an all right kind of guy, right? Let's see what happened. On January 29th, 2011, the 3 female victims went to the Supper Club in Hollywood to celebrate a college graduation. During the evening, the 3 women had a brief conversation with Francis. As the club was closing, Francis grabbed one of the women by the hand and took her to his limousine. The 2 other women entered the vehicle, believing they were being taken to their car. The group was instead taken to Francis' gated residence where a physical altercation took place. A physical altercation. That could mean a lot of things. It could mean that, he got a little grabby with one of them. It could mean that one of them smacked him for getting fresh. Let's find out what happened, okay? According to this, Francis attempted to separate one of the women from the others. During the altercation, Francis grabbed one of the women by the throat and hair and slammed her head into the floor 4 times. See, that sounds a little bit more than altercation to me. Just a wee bit more. The women were eventually escorted out of the house and were threatened by Francis if they called the police. Okay, that's the dissuading a witness, the threatening of a witness, which is a crime. It can either be a misdemeanor or a felony, depending on the severity of that threat. The women were, let's see, while in the taxi driving back to Hollywood, the victims called 911 and met LAPD at the officer's location where the cars were parked. And Joe got convicted on all 5 counts. Wow. See, this is one of those little tidbits where the guy got a little too big for his britches. You know, he just he just thought he was that big of the shit. You know, where he thinks that, you know, I can just abduct women and force them to have sex with me, and if they don't like it, I'll just grab them by the hair and smack them into the floor 4 or 5 times. Yeah, way to go, Joe. And this is coming off Francis' other legal issues, legal problems that he's had. As you know, a lot of women have sued Joseph Francis and the Girls Gone Wild production company for allegedly not getting their permission to do what it is they do on video. Now, I've seen a couple of these videos. Personally, I didn't think they were all that great, to be perfectly honest with you. You know, if I want to watch girls make out and have sex and, you know, show me their tits, that's what porn's for. I don't need this Girls Gone Wild, they're real girls. Well, you know what? So are the girls in porn. They're real girls, believe it or not. So anyway, so a lot of women have stepped forward and said that, you know, they never signed a waiver. They didn't know that they were being videotaped. You know, that they were coerced or forced into situations where they were being videotaped. And like I said, I've seen the videos, and I'm like, most of them don't look all that coerced to me. As a matter of fact, on quite a few of those videos, a couple of the girls said, no, I don't want to do this, and they just got up and left. I'm like, well, great, good for you. I'm not saying that Joe isn't above coercing women. Obviously, he's not. The 5 convictions say so. But, you know, I hesitate to call a lot of these women victims when, you know, they're drunk off their asses and they're showing off their tits in public. You know, the biggest crime against them is that, you know, that Joe got it on video and now they have to deal with their parents, you know. It's one thing to show off your tits and have sex, you know, in public. It's quite another to have it on YouTube. Now, this is also, in addition to Joe's other legal problems, which was with Wynn Casinos. Apparently, he racked up a $2 million debt in gambling debt over at the Wynn Casinos. He got a marker for it, and he decided he didn't want to pay for it. Decided he didn't want to pay his bill, pay his debts, by alleging that Wynn Casinos had manipulated him into staying at their casinos and getting him to spend money against his will. Okay, Joe, you know what? You can't have it both ways, Joseph. You can't allege that, you know, you weren't manipulating these girls over here to get drunk and naked and make out with each other, and at the same time allege that you were being manipulated by the casinos. You know, it's either you're both manipulating or you're both victims, and I don't see any victims here at all. Joseph, enjoy your prison stay and enjoy your prison boyfriend and your new video series, Joe Gone Wild, on his knees and his ass and his mouth. Poor Joe. Now, last week was Mother's Day. I hope you all called your mothers. I called my mother, called her, wished her a happy Mother's Day, told her I loved her, hoped that she was doing okay. She responded by saying, I don't have any money, don't ask. To which I said, I don't need money. Besides, I know what's in your bank, old woman. But no, I did call my mother, which is very unusual because my mother is a Jehovah's Witness. And Jehovah's Witnesses don't celebrate holidays, okay? And Mother's Day is one of them. Yes, it is a day honoring your mother. You think that the Jehovah's Witnesses will let that one slide? No, they don't. because Jehovah's Witnesses believe that you should never, ever put on too much attention onto an individual, regardless of the day. That's why Jehovah's Witnesses don't celebrate birthdays. I just say they're a bunch of cheap bastards, but that's what they say. They say they don't celebrate birthdays because it gives too much attention to an individual, whereas that attention should be devoted to God. I'm like, it's a fucking birthday, man. Let me get some cake. Let me get some presents. Let my wife fuck me. Come on, give me a break here, all right? But yeah, called mom. I hope you guys called your moms. Hope you have a mom to call. And you know what? I'm gonna say something here that a lot of people won't. If you were one of those people that grew up with a really shitty mom, and you know who I'm talking about here, that mom that never supported you, never really looked out for you, never cared about what you were doing. Maybe they were crack addicts. Maybe they were drunks. Maybe they were just shiftless bastards, bitches, that never really put in the mom time, the mom job. You know what? I give you free reign to say, fuck that bitch. Fuck that bitch, okay? Not everybody should be a mother. That's a fact. And if you had a bad mother, fuck her. You know what? To hell with her. I'm sorry. I don't believe in forgiveness for everybody. And if you had a bad mother, and like I say, you know who you are. If you had a bad mother, you will know. And, it's okay to be angry at her. It's okay to be resentful. And it's okay not to forgive her. I'm sorry. I don't believe in forgiveness for everybody, okay? It's like, if your mom was a bad mom, to hell with her. Same thing with your dad. If your dad was a shit, if he beat you, if he ignored you, if he pushed you too hard, if he, whatever he did that was shitty, that was so shitty that you are scarred by it, that you have to live with it, that you swore to yourself you would never do that with your kids, you know what? Fuck him too. I'm sorry. Not everybody deserves forgiveness. Fuck them. I don't believe in that. I believe that some people should burn, and that includes mothers and fathers. It's a very specific type of birthday coming today. Well, not today specifically, but this spring, this year now. The one and only Clark Kent, Superman, turned 75 this spring. That's right, Clark Kent, created long time ago, back in, good God, what was that, 1938 or some shit? Yeah, 1938. The June 1938 cover of Action Comics was the first to feature the characters of the American superhero Superman. Superman 75, man, and he has survived. He has endured, despite the fact that back in the 90s they tried to kill him off with the death of Superman. But he is back, man, and he is coming out in a new movie. The Man of Steel? Yeah, there you go. And I'm hoping that doesn't suck like the last one, because the last one did suck balls, and not in the fun way. But I think what a lot of people don't seem to realize is that Superman wasn't always just fighting aliens and pushing the planet around. Back in his day, he was taking on real world menaces, stuff like Hitler, Stalin, the Ku Klux Klan, slumlords, wife beaters. Superman took this on way back in the 30s and 40s and the 50s. Okay, so Superman is not just a guy in tights and red underwear. He's a guy that actually was made to look as if he cared about the little guy, not just the global problem. So happy birthday, Superman. He turned 75 in June, next month, guys. So let's see what you do for Superman's birthday. In the meanwhile, I'm going to take a break. Today's music is brought to us by the Detroit Philharmonic Symphony. You heard their first song at the beginning, Electric Station Street. Now here comes their next song, Lenox Avenue. Let's hope it's not as sucky as the first one. I'm Joe the Shirt. I'm off the cuff, and I'll be right back. All right, once again, Joe the Shirts, off the cuff. And yet another funeral dirge. I swear to God, I don't know where some of these guys come up with the idea for some of their music. It's like, not that I didn't enjoy the music, I kind of dug it a little bit, but I was just thinking to myself, it sounds a little depressing. Just a wee bit. All right, let's talk a little bit about technology. I want to talk a little bit about technology here. There is some new technology coming up. I don't know if you're hard of hearing at all, have trouble hearing stuff. There's some new technology coming out. Regal Theaters is going to be debuting it in about 6,000 of their theaters, where, now for the longest time, if you're hard of hearing or nearly deaf or whatever, you go to the movies, it's a bit of a pain in the ass. Yeah, you can see the movie, you can sort of make out what's going on, but you're going to miss a lot of dialogue. And what they do is a lot of times they'll give you like a specific type of hearing aid that is tuned in to the movie's soundtrack so that you hear it better, which can be a bit of a bitch. And, if you're completely deaf, it doesn't do you any good. Now, what Regal Theaters is going to be coming out with is a very specific high-tech set of glasses that you wear. And you know how when you're at home, you can have subtitles set to your TV? Or if you go to a foreign film, there's subtitles underneath on the bottom of the screen. Well, these glasses will project the dialogue and action onto the lenses so that you can see what people are saying. You can see what actions is taking place, without having to actually hear it. That way you can watch the movie and understand what everybody is saying, even if they're turned away from you, you see the person's back. Obviously they're speaking, you can't read their lips, but now you'll be able to see on these glasses exactly what it is they're saying, which I think is absolutely fan-fucking-tastic. It's just another one of those things that technology is helping to make better for, pretty much everybody. Because, I'm 42 years old now, and I've noticed that my hearing is not what it used to be. I had a friend of mine, he had a little app on his iPhone where he would play certain tones on his iPhone, and he would ask me, "Can you hear that?" And I was like, "No." And he goes, "Well, how about that?" I'm like, "No." "How about that?" I'm like, "No." "How about that?" I'm like, "No." And I'm like, "What the hell are you doing? I don't hear anything." He says that at a certain age, people stop hearing certain tones, certain decibel levels. They're not able to pick up what they used to be able to. Somebody who is between 20 and 25 can hear better than somebody between 25 and 30. Somebody between 30 and 35 can hear better than somebody that's between 35 and 40. And there's certain things that you don't even realize at first that that you're gradually is just disappearing on you. Until one day, you got your wife screaming at you, "Did you hear what I said?" And you're like, "What?" There you go, and you don't even realize it. And I had not even realized it. This was about 2 years ago. My buddy did this. He was doing the tones for me, and then one of the guys, another guy that we knew, came by, and he was like 23 years old. He's like, "Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, I hear that. I hear that. I hear that." And I was like, "Well, fuck you." So. So yes, it's very nice. It's also especially good for people like my girlfriend, who is Russian in origin. She was born in Russia, came here when she was pretty young, but she grew up understanding, hearing Russian. She speaks perfect English now, but to this day, a lot of times when she watches TV, she'll put on the subtitles not because she can't hear them, but because she doesn't understand how the words are coming together to make certain sounds. It doesn't make sense to her coming from the TV. When she's speaking to you in person, it's very easy. She can figure it out. But because of TV or in the movies, sometimes she misses some stuff. So, like I said, she doesn't need this device just yet. But, in the future, a bunch of you out there, foreigners, people that have trouble hearing, people that can't hear at all, that's a great piece of technology right there. Now, another piece of technology that got me really interested is TV technology. Now, I've been telling everybody for the longest time, the fact that the TVs are getting sharper, crisper, clearer, more pixels, 1080, 1280, 1620, whatever you fucking want to. We can fit in this much more into this screen. Okay, after a certain point, the human eye is not actually capable of seeing what it is they're trying to show you. Okay? At a certain point, your eyes cannot tell the difference between, this many pixels and that many pixels. Your eyes can't tell the difference anymore. It's just stop. Don't fall for this whole, we've got, 10 billion P or whatever. Stop. Don't bother with that bullshit, okay? After a certain point, you can't tell the difference. Now, what's interesting about these new TVs that are coming out is the fact that they are smart TVs. When I say smart TV, I don't mean that, the TV has a built-in Blu-ray player or is already set up to play Netflix for you or Vudu or Hulu or YouTube. I'm talking about the TV on its own starts to understand what it is you're watching and then is able to give you recommendations. Okay, you know how sometimes you watch Netflix and you watch a couple of movies and it'll tell you, based on what you've seen so far, you might like this. And a lot of times they're like completely way off, especially with me and my girlfriend, because we share the same Netflix account. So, she'll every once in a while she'll get a recommendation, based on what you've watched, we think you would enjoy, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. And it's like, no, that's something I would enjoy, not her. But the TVs that they're coming out with now, they keep track of what you watch and for how long, and not just the TV shows, but also the commercials. They keep track of which commercials you fast forward through, which ones you change the channel on, and which ones you actually stop and watch. And then these TVs then send this information, to the networks, to the cable companies, and then they make recommendations on, what you might want to watch. But then they can also start tuning in commercials specific to you, just like they do with your computer right now. Based on what websites you go on, what things you sign up for, what things you show an interest in, they will send you commercials tailored to you. That's what they do on Facebook, and that's what they're doing through all computers, Google, Yahoo. They're all doing it. They're keeping track of us and trying to figure out what it is we're into so that they can sell it to us. That's a little scary to me. I've got no interest in buying one of these new TVs, besides the fact that they're like ridiculously expensive. They're like, some of them are like anywhere between $10,000 and $40,000. So most of us are not going to run out and get one anyway. But just the idea of it is a little scary. But we got to remember, though, those prices are going to come down a lot faster than you might think. I mean, I remember it was about 15 years ago when the first HD TVs came out, nice flat screen, a flat body of the TV, didn't have that big box in the back, those things were selling for $10,000. And we're not talking about big screen TVs here. We're talking about, 24-inch, 32-inch TVs that were selling for $10,000 15 years ago. I got a 55-inch LG in this motherfucker that cost less than $1,000, with a better picture than what they had back then. So really, I mean, this technology will get cheap fast, especially if people start to think that, having this TV might make them more money by giving it to you cheaper. So it's scary stuff out there, Now, what else we got here? In about 2 weeks, there's going to be an asteroid flying near the Earth. Now, near, when it comes to space, is a really relative term. Okay, near. All right. Now, the asteroid itself is 1.7 miles long. That is one big fucking asteroid. That is one gigantic space rock right there, okay? That's how long it is. It is huge. It's the kind of thing... It's the kind of asteroid that would be considered catastrophic, possibly an extinction-level catastrophe. If something like this were to land on Earth, just hit the Earth, we're talking about the end of life as we know it. It would be like nuclear winter. It would be earthquakes. It'd be fires. It'd be floods. It'd be the apocalypse. But, like I said, near Earth is a relative term, or in this terms, 3.6 million miles away from the Earth. Also known as about 15 times the distance of the Earth to the Moon. So we're okay, all right? It's in between us and the sun somewhere, okay? We're not we're not in any real danger. The next time it comes by will be the year 2119, so we're not in any real danger. But, scientists keep telling us that there are a lot of things out there that could, like, crash into the Earth and just fuck our shit up. They exist out there, okay? To put it to this simply, I mean, the number of objects that pass in between the Earth and the Moon on a pretty much regular basis is really kind of scary. At least once a month, an asteroid the size of a house comes in between Earth and the Moon. All right, a house. We're talking about a nice 2-story house, okay, or let's call it a brownstone. It's a nice size fucking rock, is what it is, and it comes in between us and the Moon about once a month. Not the same rock, a different rock comes by every now and again. And if this thing were to hit the Earth, it wouldn't destroy life as we know it. But if it crashed into Los Angeles, a lot of Los Angeles would be pretty much fucked. So. It's amazing the amount of scary things that are out there that we do not know anything about. So, a little science and technology for us today. And we are now going to take a little break. This is more of Detroit Ilharmonic. And this is their song, The Funky Funky 3-3. I'm Joe the Shirt. I'm off the cuff, and I'll be right back.
Detroiters make it milk for life.
And once again, Joe the Shirt's off the cuff. That's right, I am back. Welcome once again. Did a little science, a little technology there. Now let's go with something a little more personal. This is a little bit of bad news for me. I was very unhappy when I heard about this. McDonald's will no longer be serving their Angus burgers. They're taking the Angus third pounders off their menu. Not because they were unpopular, but because they were just apparently too expensive for you guys out there. Sandwiches were averaging about $4 to $6. $5 to $6, which is kind of expensive for McDonald's, I suppose. But there were some damn good burgers, I got to tell you, man. No lie, right now. Their mushroom Swiss, their bacon. Oh God, they were so good. They're discontinuing them because what's happening now is apparently people prefer to spend less money at McDonald's. Their dollar menu is through the roof. They're doing great, and I've actually made a meal out of their dollar menus. I go, they get their dollar burger with cheese and onions, get like dollar nuggets and dollar salad. My girlfriend and I, we actually. One day we decided to just do a McDonald's dollar menu lunch. We got like all 9 items, and just came home and just like had a junk food binge. It was delicious. Now McDonald's isn't planning on just getting rid of the burgers. I mean, they're getting rid of the burgers themselves, the third pounders, but they're introducing the more quarter pound burgers. You're familiar with the quarter pounder with cheese? Well, they're going to introducing 3 new quarter pounders. Two of them, the same flavors and style as the third pounder, the Angus ones. The mushroom one and the bacon one are coming back. And they're also bringing a new habanero quarter pounder. So, look forward to that. Okay, gays in the news yet again. God bless the gays. They keep me going, all right. Delaware and Minnesota have approved gay marriages. Good for you, Delaware and Minnesota. There are already a bunch of people that are opposing the new laws allowing gay marriage in these states. They can go fuck themselves. And we move on. Also, France. President France has signed into law allowing gay couples to marry. Good for the French. Yet another country ahead of the curve and ahead of us, as usual. Now, the French did not go easily into this good gay. Apparently, there was a lot of protests. I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. There were like some riots. People were like breaking shit up. They were attacking police because they didn't want to be seen as, effeminate, gay, pro-gay. And I mean, honestly, I said it a couple of weeks ago. I thought, gay marriage was already illegal in France like a long fucking time ago. I mean, Jesus Christ. How could you not? Let's see here. Now, here's one that really pissed me off. I don't know if you ever heard of El Mañana. Well, El Mañana is a newspaper that has done reporting on the drug cartels in Mexico. They would report stories about drug cartels, the leaders, the lieutenants, the things they were doing. I mean, the drug cartels were killing each other. They were killing innocents. They were attacking cops. They were just going on a rampage. And the El Mañana was also known as the Tomorrow. Was reporting on the cartels. And then the cartels decided that they didn't like being reported on, so the cartels began to attack the newspaper. We're talking machine gun fire, grenades, murder. We're talking threats, disappearances. We're talking about real stuff happening, and a lot of that is pretty much, big deal. So what? Shit in Mexico is fucked up. We all know that. Now, here's what pisses me off, though. I'm not talking about Mexico. The El Mañana is in Laredo, Texas. This is an American newspaper, American citizens, American journalists who are being threatened, who are being kidnapped, killed, shot at. Like I said, grenades being thrown into their offices. Since all these happened, and starting in 2004, the Laredo has put up bulletproof glass, reinforced walls. It's like a bunker in there, basically, and it has to be because the drug cartels do not care for, newspapers reporting on them. Now, to be fair, this is not a big newspaper. On average, on a good day, they sell about 40,000 newspapers. That's on a good day. A lot of times they'll be as low as 10,000. So it's not a big newspaper. It's got a staff of about 200. But still, it is an American newspaper. This is on American soil. This isn't happening in bum-the-fuck, Mexico. It's right on the border of Mexico. It's Laredo, and then there's Nuevo Laredo on the other side. But this is what's happening here in our own country. Journalists being bullied, journalists being silenced, journalists that are the El Mañana has begun to self-censor itself. It doesn't point. It doesn't. It still reports on the violence that's going on, but it doesn't tell you the who, the what, the where, the how, the why. It's not giving you all the news. It's telling you what happened, but not with any real specifics. And this has caught on to a little backlash in Laredo, where the local populace is wondering, why aren't they reporting on this? Why are they telling us what's going on? And it does sound complicit of them that they are not doing this, but I can't blame them when they don't have the means to protect themselves. When these thugs think that they can just come into our country and just push our citizens around, push our journalists, our newspaper people around. Our truth seekers are being forced to hide. They're being forced to not report the news, and that is wrong. We should be able to trust our newspapers to tell us the truth, not just some of the truth, all of the truth. And I'm not talking about a little bias, political bias here and there. That's going to happen. Look at Fox News. You're going to tell me there's no political bias there? But at the very least, you can put your own bias on it if you want, your own slant, your own skew, but at least still keep reporting it. And I can't blame these guys for their self-censorship, because these are people that have families. These are people, that are real, just everyday people trying to live in this life, enjoy their life, and work and do their job, but they need our support. They need our protection. They need the protection of the police. Like I said, this isn't shit-ass Mexico over here, where, pretty much every cop in Mexico is bought and paid for by the cartels, which is why so much of the time when corruption gets to an all-time high, Mexico sends in its military to replace local cops, because the local cops can't be trusted. And we're not talking about just a couple here and there. We're talking about precinct-wide corruption from the top to the bottom. And I know it's easy for me to say this here in the protection of California, over here in Los Angeles, way far away from all the real violence. But I'm not saying this as if to be judgmental. I'm saying this just to let you know that this is sad and this is wrong. We shouldn't live in fear of reporting what's happening. We shouldn't live in fear of anything, actually. I mean, that is, of course, a best-case scenario. That'd be like, Wonderland, if we didn't have to worry about certain criminal elements in our own country that's being infected, by the neighboring country, that being Mexico. Now, I accept my responsibility in this particular drug war because, let's face facts, Americans, we love our drugs. We love them. We can't get enough of them. Whether it's cocaine, crystal meth, LSD, or just plain old pot. Anybody that uses drugs in some way or another, uses recreational drugs in some way or another, is contributing to the drug wars. All right? That's a fact. Our demand, their supply, contributes to all this. I'm not saying that, stop doing drugs, but I do recommend that you do accept your own responsibility for it. Know that what it is, that what you are doing. That's which is why I keep telling everybody that, we need to legalize drugs. Pot, crystal meth, cocaine, go ahead, legalize it. The people who use it will use it. They're doing it right now while it's illegal. And we have all these useless people in prison where all they do is suck up all our resources, taking up space where real criminals could be, like these cartel people, real violent felons, that could be in those spaces, could be in those jails. I understand that when it comes to drugs, it's a very weird topic for us because we don't want to be a country of junkies. And you know what? We won't be. But the people that are junkies, they're going to be junkies no matter what. Obviously, the war on drugs is not working. All right? We've been having a war on drugs since the fucking 20s, and it's not working. We're not losing the war on drugs. We lost the war on drugs. Okay? I was never a part of it. Okay? I was never fighting drugs. It's like I've enjoyed drugs. I've had a good time with them. And I've managed to keep myself above ground while doing it. There's some people out there that are more addictive than others, more likely to become addicts, more likely to become a waste of society. Yeah, they're there. And you know what? They're going to be there whether or not the drugs are illegal or not. So we got to let that go, I think. And finally, to keep things up and chipper, are you familiar with the Jamestown cannibalism story at all? Okay, way back when in Jamestown, in Virginia, there was something known as the starving time, where a bunch of settlers pretty much had to turn to cannibalism to survive. Now, for the longest time, that was just a rumor, hearsay, a legend, Nobody had any real concrete proof other than the writings that people made of things that happened there. Well, we finally have our proof. The body of a young girl has been exhumed to be examined, where they studied her, they checked her bones, her body, the wear, the tear, and they found that parts of her had been cut off with a cleaver and knives, and it shows on her body, on her bones, wear and tear of human teeth on her bones and on her body. And that is one of those things that, it's one of those things that we don't like to think about. We don't like to think about what would happen if, God forbid, we all saw that movie Alive, where people started, eating the frozen dead, but there was evidence to suggest that they didn't just eat the dead in Jamestown. They actually killed the weak, the small, those that couldn't defend themselves, and killed and ate those. I mean, they went through all the normal cycles of starvation. They ate all their food. Then they started hunting for whatever they could find. Then they started killing the livestock and eating them. Then they started eating their belts, leather, And then at some point, some people went to the other side of that one. And I try to put myself in that situation where somebody would have to do that, because it is very deep, personal piece of ugliness that we don't like to admit to, and it's right up there with like incest. You know what I mean? It's incest, it's rape, it's a type of physical violation that most of us don't like to imagine that what could get you to that point. I know, just happy-go-lucky today. I went to the dark side on that one. I'm really sorry. Sometimes I need to. You know what I mean? Anyway, that is my time for today. Tomorrow's show will be infinitely better. Thank you for listening. I'm Joe the Shirt. I'm off the cuff. And here is one more song by Detroit Philharmonic Symphony. What the hell is wrong with you? Thanks a lot. Later.